First, the agenda will be Pledge of Allegiance, and we have a kind of also Commissioner Kelly, I believe, has an additional flag. Is that or not?
Oh,
It's fine.
oh.
So we also have a flag on behalf of Commissioner. That works. Yeah.
Hold on.
Oh, she's good.
Okay.
Very good. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of America.
And to the republic.
Republic
Which it
stands
One
one nation,
under God, indivisible,
With liberty.
liberty, justice.
Very good.
We'll have to get a smaller one for the next meeting.
Yeah. So all 7 commissioners are, all board members are present. First, item number 4 is accept and approve in favor of the minutes. There a motion?
Something, Commissioner, there's something weird happening with the audio. Can't hear you very well.
Down here. Things on. There's no mic.
No, that's the mic right there.
Any better?
A little.
I'll just speak up. Any
Yeah,
better?
that's better.
Okay. We'll take a motion to accept and approve the minutes with a waiver.
I move to approve the minutes from the meeting, our meeting on March 18th, 2020.
a second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All those in favor?
Mr. Chair,
Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Larry.
the comments for the no vote have some misspellings apparently, so I just request that those be reviewed and fixed. Thank you. Other than that, I can vote yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous. We will typos, spellings.
Mr. Chair, what I meant is there's something that needs to be corrected on the minutes. There's no request for that.
So the commissioner request to correct something on the minutes?
Yeah.
And how do you want to do that? That's for everybody else. Well, except, okay. You want to tell us what the corrections are roughly?
They're recorded very clearly on the audio. It would just take going back and listening to the audio and adding them back in. So I'm not going to re-go through it at this moment, but that's just fairly easy for them to do.
So it would seem appropriate if the commissioner had a list of things that he wanted to change, not just go back to the look for items.
I recognize that, Mr. Chair, but there's people that actually have a job description requirement to do so. So that's something that they should fix.
So the chair will consider the vote incomplete. There still is a motion on the floor. All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
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 All those opposed?
No, and I request that the minutes reflect that I've asked them to be fixed. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. The motion passes 6-1. Review and approve of all bills, part-time deputies, payroll. We'll take a motion for that.
I move for approval of warrants 2026, 2027, 2029 for payroll, and corrections warrants 197, 1971J and 3014J.
Moved by Commissioner Kelly to accept review and approval of the bills, part-time deputies, payroll. We hear a second.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to accept the review and approval of all bills, part-time deputies payroll. Any debate on that?
Mr. Chair, what's X-Ray Professional Association?
What was that again? What's it?
What is X-Ray Professional Association on voucher 1971J? I've never seen that before.
I would have to get back to you. I don't have the pile here in front of me.
Okay.
So,
All right.
all right, if I email you that?
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, Treasurer. Any further discussion? All those in favor, raise your hand, please.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
6-1. We're proceeding on the reports from County Commission Association.
Both Noel and I,
Yeah.
but whatever.
And Noel, I understand that there was no meeting of the MCCA.
I believe that they actually did have some sort of meeting. I was not in presence though. Larry, do you have any idea?
The MCCA did not meet, but the risk pool did over the phone. And I was in another meeting and wasn't able to do that. But it was the risk pool, not the MCCA.
Okay. Well, while I'm unmuted here, I will just add one thing to that. I did attend a virtual meeting of AVCOG, first one. Unfortunately, it was not in person, and it was not much of a substantive meeting because it was the audit presentation. But I can say they had an election in which I participated in, and it was uncontested. That is that there's a president, a vice president, and let me just tell you who was elected those positions. So for president, it was the town manager of Newry, Amy Bernard. Vice president is Diane Barnes of Lisbon. I'm not sure what her role is. Treasurer is Leslie Bones of Hartford. And the secretary is Shiloh Lafreniere from J. She's the town manager in J. And that's really all I have to report. It was a good finding of their audit. However, they did have a finance person that was there for pretty much the existence of the organization who left last year. And so it did cause a little bit of continuity trouble, but it was nothing concerning.
Thank you for that report, Commissioner. Next is Central Maine Western Workforce Board. Report on that, Commissioner Kelly.
Yes. As you might imagine, there's been a great deal of activity surrounding the Central Maine Western Workforce, or the Western Maine Workforce Board, in regard to COVID-19 and mobilizing as many programs as possible, including the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, providing an opportunity for those unemployed and displaced, laid off, through the current situation, to hone their skills and gain the training necessary to find redeployment. Also, they have increased the presence of, they've increased the number of positions in our local office in Lewiston so that the public, has more accessibility. If you've tried to contact the Department of Labor, you know that it's, quite a long wait at times. So the Central Maine Workforce Board is doing what they can to mitigate that and assist the public in whatever way possible to make this transition into, into the unknown easier. That's all I have for now.
Very good. Thank you for that report.
Thank you.
Treasurer's report.
Okay, so it's the end of the first quarter. Everything's looking fine. Everybody's within budget. Our cash balance was about $1 million. We've drawn down 1.5 million on the TAN, and the interest so far is 1,700. I will say beyond that, I've heard back from two of our banks, and our deposit rates are going down. Not much, so I don't think it will affect the budget at all, because we've already made budget in the interest line, so now, so it should be fine. Deposits have slowed down, obviously, from everything going on. Right now, we're in line with last year borrowing on the TAN. I am really concerned that we're going to be borrowing more than last year, not in the end, but last year we didn't make the 6 million. So, I'm afraid we might hit that 6 million if this goes on too long because of the deposits lowering. And just to let you know, the treasurer's office, I'm sure Larry's probably already told you, we're doing split shifts. I have somebody in the morning, someone in the afternoon, and then I'm coming in before and after work and on weekends, so that not more than one person is in there at once. So if somebody gets the corona, the whole department won't go down. So that's pretty much what I have to report tonight.
Thank you, Madam Treasurer. And thank you for doing the extra mile on protecting everyone. I think the county was very early in the process of setting up those social distances. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
for doing that.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Bruce.
Welcome.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Question? Was there a question? Yeah, Commissioner Larry.
No, it was me, Mark.
Oh, wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Does anyone have a question? Was it Mark Roy?
Yes. Clarice,
Yeah.
have you done an analysis on about how much we're going to be having in a reduction in terms of revenue from civil process and from deeds and from probate?
I have not yet, no.
Okay. Also, I was in conversation this morning with John Simcoe, our lender at Androscoggin Bank, just in general about the potential consequences of the economic downturn on municipalities and counties. And we share the same feeling that it's likely to end up causing a delay in payments from taxpayers to the municipalities, which
Right.
will also probably flow up to the counties. So we just want to be aware of that.
Yep.
Any further questions or comments?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Larry.
Treasurer Proctor, do you have any thoughts or recommendations on possibly going out for our bond, our TAN, sooner this year, in the sense of maybe there would be a benefit in getting different rates, or I guess maybe rates would drop, I guess, if things get really bad, but I don't know how this will affect
Well,
us. Do you have any recommendations at this point?
Well, the TAN, from what I understand, the TAN rates are going to be going up. Anything loan related will be going up, and deposits will be going down.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what the timing, maybe Mark would have a sense on sooner or later on the TAN. I would think later
That's
would
sort
be
of what I'm
better, but
wondering. Okay. What do you think, Mark, or Commissioner Roy? Sorry.
Yeah, if the banks are going to have to the banks are going to have to cover the spread between the Fed's rate and their loan rates. And also, if you consider that, for example, if you consider that municipalities are going to be drawing out of their bank accounts, right, because they're eating into their fund balance, the deposits on hand at any particular bank is going to go down, which will likely drive the ability to borrow or the interest rates up as we get into this. So yeah, obviously, any borrowing that we do, we want to do earlier than later because even though the Fed rates are going to try and keep it low, banks still are taking on risk and they're not likely to go lower. I thought, Clarice, though, you said that we've already secured the 10 that we can draw down. We can start drawing down
Yes.
on that.
For this one, yeah, absolutely, yep.
Okay.
You mean
We're
for
good
next?
until December now.
Yeah. Okay.
So when we normally do our TAN, I think around November-ish. Is it possible-
October, November, yeah.
Okay. Is it possible to maybe plan for us, Mr. Chair, possibly to look at maybe discussing this in August? Commissioner Ames, you might have some thoughts too, being a bank guy.
I think we have to really,
Pardon?
I think we'll have to discuss this.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah. Mark was spot on.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Very good. We're proceeding under comments from the public. Are there any?
Before you go there, you need to approve the.
Oh, I apologize. I forgot to
No problem.
approve the treasurer's report, right? All those in favor of approving the treasurer's report, please signify by raising your hand. It looks unanimous. To vote. That's right. And there you
No, me, okay.
go. I tried to skip the administrator's report. I don't know.
Hey, that would have been
Maybe,
okay.
maybe passive aggressive. I'm not sure.
Just very quickly, I'll just hit, because primarily we've been hunkered down trying to get through this and whatever they're kind of throwing at us. We have, however, we've interviewed for the position of IT director. We've made an offer for the position. He hasn't accepted yet, so we'll wait on that for a couple more days. We've been accepting applications for the position of office manager planner in emergency management office. Joanne Bouchard is getting done at the end of the month, and she's been here for a long time, and we hate to lose her, but it's time for her to retire, she says, and so we're trying to fill that and add the position of planner at in the same position. The emergency management office, they obviously have been busy trying to procure items needed in the county and with various MEMA requests and challenges. That's been ongoing and will continue to be ongoing for a while yet. The roof project has started, so that hopefully that can be finished up and taken care of. We did get the downstairs, the basement for this building. We got the numbers, approximately $1.5 million. The question is whether we're going to have to, and I suggest we may need to put that on hold. We was originally looking at this fall.
Right.
This may not be the year to do it, and probably isn't, but we'll have that discussion further on. But I'm thinking we're probably going to have to wait another year. And I've already suggested to you that, and Clarice just suggested again, that employees' work schedules have somewhat changed. There are some departments where the full department is in and working. Obviously, the building is locked down, so there's no public. But then there are some that are working part-time from home, and but we are seeing that the work is done. And I will tell you that, again, our employees are second to none, and I will make that statement very clearly, that we have just a wonderful staff. And so we're making it through this, and we're going to come out the other side.
Thank you, Administrator Post. Questions for the Administrator? Commissioner Padua.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So when are you planning on, Mr. Post, when are you planning on sharing the basement architectural plans with us and the figures?
We just got them when? Last week? Week before?
Yeah.
And the actual document I will get to you within the next week. We've been going through them and looking at them and trying to make sense of it all. So
Just to be honest, I having read it in the newspaper before you communicated it with us was a little bit bothersome, since we haven't heard from you in a number of weeks. So when you could get that to us, that would be great to see what that's like. But I wish, you know, you had communicated something, that you had it to us, and what your thoughts were on the matter before telling the Sun Journal, because kind of got ahead of the commission on that one. And it's usually the last place I want to read about things that having to do with the county is in the newspaper before we hear about it.
I fully understand, and I apologize for that. It's actually the day that we got it, Steve Sherlock called and asked particularly about that. And I had just got the information, and so shared that with him, sat down to later on that day or the next day to get something out to you all, and got waylaid, and something else came up and didn't get back to it, and I apologize.
So I should expect to see the plans in our email sometime soon?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Sometime in the next week.
Pardon? Yeah, sometime in the next week.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Administrator Post.
Further questions for the administrator?
How-
Mr. Chair. Go ahead. I'll wait for Commissioner Madore. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yeah, a question, curious about what's happening in the jail, and if spirits of the staff generally how they are in the county.
The staff seems to be holding up well. Obviously, you know, that there's times when they wish I would be able to take them out to a restaurant for lunch, but so the jail population, inmate population is down to, last week was 103. But everybody seems to be hunkered down and holding up well.
Further questions, Commissioner Larry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Mr. Post, I'm the last one to encourage spending extra money typically, but in this case with the jail, what steps have we taken, if those can be discussed, to help alleviate or prevent the risk of the spread? Is there a way we could pick up or increase the number of air exchanges per hour? I know that costs more in heating, but thankfully we're in April and not, you know, February in the dead of winter. Could we consider possibly increasing the number of air exchanges? And that might be a question for Mr. Cody, but just, I'm thinking maybe we could keep the air, spend a little more money and pump the air through and reduce possible risk if there's a way to do that, or install some HEPA filtration or something just to make things as safe as possible. I realize that's easy to say when you're not installing it, so my apologies to suggest it, Mr. Cody. But how you doing?
Hi. So I shouldn't be the one speaking for the jail's behalf, but I'm here. You asked the question. So the jail has many air handlers throughout it. So what the jail did is they did work with me at the beginning of this process, and we decided that there are certain areas that we could segregate the inmates that may have an issue to those air handling units. So when they first come in, they can go to the holding area. The holding has its own air handling system.
Okay.
And from there, they moved a bunch of inmates around or reclassified in different areas to free up a minimum security zone, which used to be the juvenile security, which has all three security levels. So they have minimum, medium, and max.
Okay.
That has its own air handling system. So they're going to segregate the inmates in those areas.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. And thank you for your work, Mr. Cody. I'm sure you guys are, and ladies are busting your tails over there.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the administrator?
I have one.
Was that Commissioner Madore?
Commissioner Mark R. Roy, CPA.
Keep it tight. I saw Noah wave his finger.
With respect to the jail, are we requiring the inmates to wear masks? Does anybody know?
No. And quite frankly, we have tried to get masks, and that's a difficult proposition.
Yep.
We do We did get some, but not anywhere near enough.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner,
could we consider, and I don't know all the dynamics of the inmates versus, working with the staff, but even just getting masks for the staff in the sense of if we're segregating by group, not by any other characteristic, new inmates, is there a way to possibly at least make sure the staff have masks, which would help reduce the possibility of staff bringing it from home or from some other, exposure, in order to just help protect the inmates and obviously the staff as well, just because those are I would think the most common people going from one cell to another. I understand they're doing their best, but that might help protect both groups.
so is that a question? So the administrator will look into that. Our emergency management director, Angela Molina, said that Bates College and some other companies have been donating masks, not the N95s, and not the KN95s, but masks that are better than nothing, certainly, and also some shields. So the administrator can probably check in with her, see if there's any extras for the jail, that kind of thing.
I know they have some, but there wasn't,
Yeah,
it was limited.
yeah, that's surprising me. Further questions? Hearing none?
Excuse me, Chair.
Commissioner Madore.
I noticed that our communications director was on. I was curious if he would give us an update on what things are like over there and how they holding up. If he's willing to. Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Sorry to put you on the spot, Marty.
Well, thank you, Mr. Madore. I appreciate you putting me on the spot. I was just sharing a video with the jail administrator. So staff are doing an excellent job staying healthy. We encourage them to sanitize their workstations multiple times per shift. We've done some extensive research, or not research, but a project with LA 911 and our agency to come up with a contingency plan should our staff become sick to the point where we can actually function as a real PSAP. In doing that, we came up with we discovered some issues with technology and data transfer that we needed to fix. We took care of that with our vendors, and we have a good plan. I attend weekly meetings over Zoom with all the other PSAPs in the state, and we're just trying to stay ahead of the curve. So, and I do need a haircut, as everybody can see. So,
I have just one follow-up question, if I could.
Please.
What has the call volume been like these past 4 weeks?
So the call volume, I'm keeping up on it. I'm doing it in 2-week increments as opposed to the same 2 weeks in 2019. Initially, we noticed a 12% drop in 911 calls and overall call volume. The last 2-week period I did, it was substantially lower. It was like 58%. Typically this time of year, we do a lot of traffic details. There's some grants that are out there, but those were all suspended due to, interaction with the public. So other than, just the calls going to people's residences, I was kind of anticipating there'd be a lot more domestic disturbances. We've been very fortunate. That's held off pretty good for right now. But we do have some people that are getting agitated, and but they're dealing with the situation. So I think I would contribute that to them being just well informed of the situation nationwide.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Further questions?
Administrator Post, I have a question regarding the drop box that was placed at the front of the county building. How is that working out? And has the clerk of courts, is that office still open?
No, that office is not still open, and so therefore, the drop box that we was placing near the front essentially is not happening. They're having to call or email or send through the mail. So, but the building is totally locked down in the main part of the only place that's open is to get into civil, where they're behind the glass, so.
Thank you.
Commissioner Larry.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I apologize. Mr. Chair, I was curious in that vein, do we have information up on our website that's real easy on the homepage and information on the doors that let citizens know, what's going on and where, how to reach us? Only because there are obviously some things can wait, and there's other things like probate and so on and so forth, where I just want to make sure people aren't stressing out trying to either deal with a court date or what have you, and not sure how to go about that. I just want to make sure that citizens are able to actually get the help they need. I'm sure there's probably something in place, but I just want to verify that people can find it either online and when they call and if they come up to the door, since it's locked.
Good question, Commissioner. Do we have some kind of easy review on the website telling people what to do? And
We do have on the website, I'll review that again and make sure that it's all up to date and so on, but it's there on the door. Obviously, the, phone numbers are there for people to call. So we'll just make sure that everything is up to date as much as possible. But I'm pretty confident that that's the case.
Thank you.
Further questions? If not, now we are proceeding with comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public?
I did unmute him.
The public is now comments from the public.
Mr. Chair, it might be a good idea if we all mute our mics so that the citizen can speak. It may help the feedback.
Chair, I would say there are no comments from the public unless they've written something into the chat.
Doesn't look like there's anything in there. In the chat portion.
If you are a member from the public, there's a note on the bottom for you to be able to click the chat. It's a balloon with a speech message if you're having trouble.
Whoops.
Sorry, you were muted.
I'm muted?
You were.
Okay, did they hear our future agenda items?
They did not.
Okay, I was muted during the request for new business. We have no new business, and future agenda items is an invitation to comment on any future agenda items. Hearing none, I'd like to thank Dave Cody for setting up. Oh, Commissioner Madore.
Sorry to interrupt you. Curious as when the administrator and Mr. Cody, think you'll be ready to talk more in detail about the basement architectural plans, or as something you want to save for an in-person meeting, or how you guys want to handle that? But something I'd like to talk about in the future. I'll defer to the chair on when that happens with Mr. Cody and Mr. Post.
About
The basement remodel.
plans.
Oh, yes.
So we should probably, before we,
I'm guessing that's gonna need
I think with everything that's going on right now, we probably have to wait till next year to do it. But I think when Commissioner Knoll was looking for is for us to sit down and have a powwow of what our intent is, which we could get everyone in the file first, so they have an option to look at it, and then we can either have a Zoom meeting and discuss it in detail, or we can sit down another week or so in person.
I'm almost thinking that the personal touch, to have that discussion as opposed to trying to have it remotely, but
Yeah, 'cause I'm not quite sure how to do it remotely and show
Yeah.
detail.
Well, the suggestion is that we get, we all get the paperwork first, and then maybe we can have some kind of discussion at the next meeting, whether we're all together in person or have to do it remote again, and then just take it from there. I don't know if you can hear him, the administrator suggested that that might be the kind of thing we'd want to be together, hash it around more so than a remote, but we could certainly discuss it some in a couple of weeks, or 3 weeks, I guess is the next meeting. Meanwhile, we'll get the paperwork on the design from Dave Cody and the administrator.
The paperwork will be sent out within the next week or so, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Good, so I want to thank Dave Cody for putting this together. He is not our tech guy, but whoops, Commissioner Larry.
Mr. Chair, I didn't hear discussion items. Everything was muted or nothing was coming through. Has that been, was that open or not?
Well, we did pass that, but I may have been muted, so we will take discussion items out of order now if anyone likes to discuss anything.
Okay. Were you, I'll wait until you finish speaking. You were saying something to Mr. Cody if you wanted. I want to be respectful.
I was just thanking him, Mr. Cody, for putting this Zoom operation together. He's not our tech guy, but he stepped in and he's learning on the job. And I just want to express our appreciation for him allowing us to meet remotely.
Anytime.
Thank you for your work there, Mr. Cody. Mr. Chair, I just want to express my concern as a commissioner with as of 4/10/2020, we had a total of 19 COVID patients in ICU, or 20 COVID patients in ICU, and of 4/13 we had 9 on ventilators, and we have our entire state basically shut down, and the right to the people to peacefully assemble for both religious and political and any other purpose still exists under the First Amendment and under the Maine state constitution. So I'm very concerned about Governor Mills's unconstitutional executive orders. They're killing our state and they're really infringing upon our personal liberties, and this will have lasting impacts on our freedoms in the future. This should be up to regular citizens to make those decisions. We allow them to make decisions at this point on whether they can end their life via assisted suicide, whether they want to use pot, whether they want to use alcohol, or a number of other things that are harmful to their bodies and that do cost society and other people, including first responders, much heartache and grief. So I am very concerned about this. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. The chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries unanimous. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
Take care.